The graduate students in the Maryland Opera Studio put on one show each semester. The fall performances are white operas, including this fall's show, Florencia and El Amazonas, the first Spanish opera ever performed by Maryland students.
As you saw, the costumes are pretty much all white. The set is white. A lot of the props were painted white just to fit in with everything so that there weren't too colors just thrown out there that didn't really fit in the world. So this one, there's no costume changes, so it's less tracking for myself and my team. There's maybe half the number of props. It's a lot more basic, and there aren't going to be like fancy moving lights and something like this. So.
The emphasis on the singers, not on the scenery or the costumes or the lighting. It's all about the singers and the creation of the characters. The white operas is because they're wearing white. You can call them no-money operas. You can call them, experimental, or I don't care what you call them. It's just that they're minimal with the emphasis on the singer.
Florencia tells the story of 7 travelers sailing the Amazon. The plot twists and turns like the river as the characters encounter natural disasters, uncover mistaken identities, and experience miracles in the depths of the jungle.
It was difficult to find the way into the piece before we even started rehearsals. Because we're so minimal, we have little time in the theater, we have no money to do this. How do you do this? How do you make a boat? And how do you make a journey? And how do you tell us it's the jungle? And how do you tell us it's a passage of time? And that was the hard thing to find. But once that was established, the 2 platforms and one breaks apart, then it was not so difficult to work it out.
White operas leave physical details to the imagination of the audience. This year's audience had to be especially imaginative because Florencia's plot incorporated magic realism.
Magic realism is very difficult to interpret. It's much easier in literature than it is to do it live. So it was a question of the cast entering that world and accepting the reality that a man could sprout wings and become a butterfly.
There's a really famous opera quote that people say. It's like, opera is allowed to be nonsensical because no one sings in real life when they have their sense about them. There's some things that just kind of like, okay, very much the same, and all of a sudden a dramatic moment, and then all of a sudden the audience is thrown a lot, like they're about to get to Manaus, and all of a sudden cholera outbreak, and then you're supposed to understand whoa, the entire plot of the opera is thwarted, or Albaro just comes back from the dead. There are just these things that's like, okay, it's mystic realism, whatever, sure.
If you accept that reality, if you accept that world, then the audience will accept it, as long as the world is consistent. And if it stops being consistent, then we lose interest. And I think the success of Florencia was the 8 singers who were in it committed to it and took every moment from beginning of the show to the end and never wavered from the thought process. And I think that was compelling for an audience and gradually sucked us into the performance. And I think we came out of it, the audience, came out of it knowing something, learning something in our investigation of who we are.